turn it on. We are live. Thank you so much. First of all, hello, world. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. I am really, really excited to be here and to have an opportunity to kind of invite somebody I worked with super closely for what seemed like a lifetime. But we work well together. We understand each other and the need to be on it and leave nothing to chance. So I absolutely appreciated that with working with Sahara. If you are watching this live, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. We appreciate it. Um, there's a link for you that was asking for a link to join, but we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you joining us. And we also, on a personal note, I'm always just grateful that people take the time and energy to tune in to find out how I may be able to contribute. A few of you, if you're new and you don't know my story, my name is Sally. I am a clinical pharmacist based out of Maryland, a graduate of the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and PGY1 residency trained. My drive, my motivation, and my desire to start something like Rezi Prep, which is really a personalized one-on-one coaching through the entire residency application, interview, match, and post-match process, comes from my own personal experience with this process. I went through a concentrated 3-year School of Pharmacy program, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, woot woot. Um, and everything happened incredibly fast. But I had some amazing mentors that kind of guided me and told me the things I need to look for and look to, and making sure that I was preparing myself for the next phase of my professional career. So when I decided that residency was going to be the next thing, because I cared about and had a very particular idea about the way I wanted to show up for my patients, I knew that residency, I had to invest in that step, but then found myself overwhelmed very quickly. The decision to pursue a residency, that was the easy part. But the part about how I was going to go about this, how I was going to accomplish this, that became overwhelming very, very quickly. So in comes the next phase of this intense research process and organization process, seeking external support that I just felt like I could not find. I couldn't find anybody that had anything targeted, anything that they could personalize to fit me and my goal. I had all these lists of programs that I was interested in applying for, but how do I decide what is the best program for me and what I'm looking to accomplish? And so Rezi Prep became a passion project that all of a sudden now is definitely coming out of the shadows. And I am so happy about that. But that's a little bit about me and my decision to continue coaching and being there for many of the students I work with once they start residency was really out of my own personal experience again. Once I got to residency, I realized that there was a whole host of things now I needed to consider, being strategic about how I structured rotation, how to look for a mentor, how to identify my circle of influence and the people who believe in me and were there to support and cheer me on to see me go on to the next phase. So Rezi Prep is a lot of different things, but at the core, it's really just my desire to help you and learn about you and help you realize your dreams and what you want to do next. Today, I'm really excited today because I have the incomparable Sahara Hill, fresh graduate, just off the graduation trail, preparing for her boards. I'd love for you to share a little bit about you, school, where you're headed, where you're about to take by storm. I think the people should know about you.
Okay, well, let me show them how well you prepared me. Okay, I hope they're ready. So, my name is Sahara Hill. and I've just recently graduated from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
Mhm.
Talk pride.
Hey.
So I worked with Dr. Chayor, of course. I'm still working on realizing that we are colleagues now, but she was a great mentor for me through this process, and that's why I'm here today because the opportunity to really let you guys know like this woman has your back. Like I am right now, I just finished my first week of residency, and there's nowhere I'd rather be than right here supporting her and this program. That's what I'm telling you guys right now. But with that being said, I also went to this accelerated 3-year school, and anybody who's in an accelerated program, you know what that can do to your mental state, to your organization. You come out strong, you do, bear through it, it will be great. And I tackled that residency hurdle through the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot. It was a lot. And honestly, a lot of times I did not think I was gonna make it through. And without Dr. Trayor and her guidance, Lord knows how I would have made it, honestly. But
Honey, thank you.
she kept me on task. She reviewed my CV. She helped me get projects. She aligned me with resources. It was just when I tell you my confidence, when it was time for me to deliver my personality, to explain my why, my mission, I knew it like I was born. God put me on earth to do this. Okay. I was so confident in myself after working with her, which is something that's very hard to get to. It's hard to know your worth, to
Yes.
know your weaknesses, and know that that's not the end. That's just
Mhm.
one thing that I'm working on right now. That will be a strength soon.
Yes.
But getting back to it, so I am now a first year pharmacy resident with my first choice, Orlando, VA. So I moved from Eastern Shore to Orlando. And it's honestly, it's surreal. Like opening the email, I was driving back to my school to take a RX prep test. And I got an email telling me that I got my first choice residency program. When I tell you, I was like, I don't even care if I pass this RX prep this week, but I still did. So that was great too. But
Oh my
so
gosh.
that's a little bit about me. So in summary, I am a PGY1 resident now at Orlando, VA. I did finish my pharmacy school at University of Maryland Eastern Shore as well.
Yes.
And I'm just really excited to share and provide you guys with as much information as you can gain about this amazing program. You
Oh my
too can sit right here.
Oh my God, you're so kind. I appreciate it so much. I have to give you credit because you made it easy to work with you. It's very easy to make it seem like, oh, I did all the work. But if you are prepared to listen and actually follow instructions and be open, what I really enjoyed about our working relationship and appreciated more than anything, you were very vocal about the direction you wanted to take. It was important to you that you built your confidence. It was important to you that when your letter of intent was read, that it was very clear what you were wanted to do next. But what we talked about so many times, that clarity of purpose. You really wanted help in making sure that like this letter, when they read it, did I accomplish that? Did I clearly articulate why I want to do a residency and also why I believe that this place is absolutely the best fit for me? And I think that it's a very important aspect in how successful I am as well as an advisor. If I feel like I have to make a case of every single thing I suggest, I may even start to think, I don't really think like the recommendations I made are going to be implemented. And so, one of the things I absolutely want to encourage you on is to keep that energy, sis. Keep that energy. Your voice absolutely matters especially if you're sitting down with people to map out your goals and to map out what should happen, and it helps them to know where your head is at and what your aspirations are and what you see. So that made you an easy one because I'm like, I wonder if Sarah would be open to this. I was like, no, I don't have to wonder about it because I know that she's going to tell me, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, cool. So you're not open to that. What about this other thing? So that I want you to know that I did appreciate that about working with you. Um, as far as advice that you would be able to give anybody who is either on the fence or is still not even sure if this process is something they want to take on. Um, I'm curious to know what your wisdom from your journey would be about what it took because I would ask you, hey, was it stressful? But I know that. I was there, I saw you through it. So I know how stressful it was. But what did you take from your entire journey that you would be able to pass on to other prospective candidates?
I think that's a great question. And I would say that the best advice I could give if you're on the fence about doing a residency is look at your goals. So your short-term goals, your long-term goals, and see how you plan for your career to start. So
Yeah.
I looked at it personally as a way of saying like residency is going to be my foundation. It's going to set me up to enter my career strong. And coming from an accelerated program, knowing that residency is equivalent to 3 to 5 years of work experience, I feel like to get that fresh out the gate while you still are used to not having money, while you're still used to doing 40 hours of school a week, anyways, it just was better for me to invest that one more year
Yeah,
while I could for what I wanted in the end.
absolutely.
And I would just say, really reflect on where you see your career going and what would benefit you the most in the long term. And if you're not sure, take time. Like I know you have exams you're thinking about or rotations you're thinking about, but I really challenge you to take at least a weekend to yourself and really say, well, where do I want to work? What is required for me to work here? What will make me look competitive as somebody entering a competitive market? So that would be my advice.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And I know like so many of you were super annoyed because we kept going self reflection, self reflection. I want your why statement. I want to read your why statement. I want to understand your why. And part of that is all of what you just described because even for me as your advisor, if you can clearly express to me why you're choosing this path, it helps me figure out what's driving you. So when we're preparing for your interviews, this is how I prepare you and how you respond during an interview. Because I sound broken, but it's always like we cannot leave the interview and leave any ambiguity as to why you're choosing to do this. And I talk a lot about the fact that it is an investment. Like nobody puts a gun to your head and say, "Hey, you should go do a residency." Nobody does. There's something. There should be a certain level of self reflection that goes into the decision to go through residency. Because I'm pro residency, but I also don't lie about you guys for what you're in for. I tell you guys, hey, it's a challenging year. Pray for a supportive director. Pray that when you get there, your co-resident and you, it's just gonna click, and it's like we've got each other's back. We're in this together. Pray that the preceptors see you, they hear you, they understand you. Be hopeful that there aren't going to be any mismatches in learner and teaching styles. But it's a very dynamic year. It's a very difficult year. So I prepare you guys for that part of it. But reality is that when you already know why you are here, you kind of step up to the plate with a very different energy. And even how I work with you, I'm very honest with people and tell them it's still not clear to me why you're doing this. And I know you're nodding because I
She's
am.
not going to lie to you. She's not. But you need it. You need it. You need her feedback. You really do. You do.
I'm very, very honest with you guys, and I don't waste your time. And I'm like, you want my feedback, and if the honest feedback is what you want, this needs some work. This needs more work. And I ask you so many questions. So those of you that I practice presentation with, it's what about this? you mentioned this, what is that? You mentioned this, what is that? But it's really putting you in that position when we're doing these mock interviews so that we can mimic as close to the real deal as possible. And in the moment, you get overwhelmed because it's kind of like, well, I hadn't even thought of that. Well, could they really ask me that? Like, I don't know if I would be prepared to answer that. That's why we're doing the mock interview, so that at no point in time you find yourself caught off guard with, I don't think I can do that. So this is really great. So one of the other things I really wanted you to kind of talk about and address is the process of how we went over developing your letter of intent. I really pride myself on the fact that we spent a lot of time working on this one thing. Some people get frustrated, like, I don't know what else to add. I feel like I've said all I need to say. And I'm like, yeah, but it needs work. There's ambiguity. You're mentioning things that I want you to use supporting evidence to substantiate. So I wanted you to just talk a little bit about what your process was in developing content, because I do a whole workshop with you guys with how do we build the content? What do you want to include in this letter before we even start drafting it? But I thought you had a really strong letter and a really great letter. Many people will see it this year. Many people will see it this year as an example of how is it that you articulate, like, I am about this, I'm not around it. So I want you to share a little bit about what your process was in turning in that first draft.
Definitely. Thank you first, because as many red lines as I saw in that first draft, I didn't know if it was good or not. But it was beautiful in the end. I was amazed. I don't even know. I was like, is this my idea? Like, these words, this is amazing. But with that being said, honestly, I was working on that right around the time of mid-year while I was on a rotation. There was just a lot going on. We had the presentations, we had tests and exams, and I was so stressed and overwhelmed. And I started it so many times, and it was like, nope, this isn't right. Nope, this isn't right. So literally at like 2 a.m. one day, because that's when you get all your best ideas if you're me.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to really breathe. I'm going to think about why it's so hard for me to sit down and do this. I'm really going to think about all these questions she's made me answer this far, all these people who are giving me letter of recommendations and why they said they want to support me. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to bear it all. I want the person that reads this to really know me, because if we're going to match, you really need to know the true me and not the 2 weeks of work. I'm just trying to get you to like me. Me.
Yeah.
So when I write, I always start from the middle. And I was surprised because Dr. Traylor actually loved that. I sent her like the middle as the beginning. She literally told us to put this at the end. And I put it right at the beginning, and she was like, I love the way you open this. And that's just my personality. Honestly, I get straight to the point. I'm not really into fluff.
Yes.
I was doing so much in that week. I was trying to get a publication. I was working on a presentation. So I was just like, you know what? Even if it doesn't go, let me just write about this. So I was speaking on COVID and how that impacted me and my cohort. And I was speaking on why I want to do a residency and what it means to me and how I want to be able to impact my patients, how I want to be able to deliver that kind of care that I want all people to have, all family members to receive. And in the simplest words, I wasn't worried about my grammar or how I sound. I was just like, I'm going to tell her what I think goes in here, and
Yeah.
she's going to help me. Because at first it was just like, I've been working at CBS for 3 years. And I was like, okay, but who hasn't been working at CBS?
Yes.
I was like, I don't want them to just be like, next.
Next.
So I started like that. I wanted to show a little bit of my personality. Working with Dr. Trey or getting ready for those interviews, she really helps you to learn yourself and learn your strengths and learn how to develop your weaknesses into a strength. So she would say things like, "You're so coachable." And I was like, "Oh, is this a bad thing? Like, does this mean I always need help?" But then, like, she was describing, I was like, "Oh, this sounds like a good thing." So I was like, "Let me make sure that I show this." She was using words like, "Oh, wow, this is so resilient. You're so resilient." And I was like, "Oh, these are my words. Like, these are my themes. This is what I want them to know about me. I want them to know that I'm not embarrassed of the fact that I struggle with housing instability. That's fine. I did that. And that makes me stronger. And
Yes.
I still got my degree. And
Yes.
I will come in whether or not I know where I'm sleeping tonight, and I will be clean and ready to work. That does not matter to me. So
Mhm.
just really being transparent. Don't give it all away because there's the interview and things like that. But knowing how to give just enough to make them interested to come back for more. I want to really thank you because I feel like at first mine was too short. And then you said it. You were like, you got to put more. And I'm like, well, I mean, what if I have to talk to them again? Like, you're like, no, put it all in there and then I'll cut back. And she cut it back. And then we had to do this version. We did a backbone. I had to do this special version for a program that I didn't even end up ranking high enough. It was so crazy. I wanted that program so bad, you guys.
And
And
I
she was like,
warned you about that.
he
Yeah.
was like, no, you need to put this in all of them. This part is amazing. So when you're writing it, put parts in where you really can see yourself. Like there was a position that I wanted so bad where I was like, I want to work with my professors and my mentors, and I want to help the next generation of Hawks. So to be able to partner with this organization and to give back to this community and serve this community that's done so much for me in the past 3 years,
Yeah.
and that meant so much, like so much. So don't hold back. Attack it from a couple of angles. Have a few people read it and then send it to Dr. Joyor, and she will help you make sense of it all. She will cut this whole part of the sentence where you splice something and all these grammatical things that we don't know because we're STEM. But yeah,
And I always like when I send you guys your letters back, I always open with take a deep breath. And what I learned is like nobody reads my email. You guys go straight for the attachment and then you open and it's go just like, oh my God. It's like, wait,
did she like anything? Her comment versus the red. She was like, "This was amazing," and I was like, "Which part? The hello to who this man?"
that's what I was like, I don't think they're reading the email before they open the attachment because everybody's response is like, good Lord. It's like, oh my, thank you. I'll get to work on this right away. And I'm like, you didn't read the email, or I would have told you, take a deep breath.
When
But
I took your edits, when I tell you, I just kept my version. I downloaded yours again, and then I took that other one. I said, accept all. I read yours. I read mine. I said, she made a lot of sense, actually. This makes so much sense. Let me not be offended by these things. Let me see what the end product looks like.
it's
And
like,
that's what you have to do. You're asking for feedback and
yeah,
you want to learn the process as you're going on. And that's something that you definitely, if you have not learned it thus far in pharmacy school or in your transition, you will learn is that feedback, good, healthy feedback
healthy
is,
feedback.
is great. It's
Right.
great. You're going to grow so much from it. Constructive criticism is what makes you stronger.
Yes. And I keep saying it, it's one of your strongest suits because the ability to accept and apply that feedback immediately, even if it stings, but really having that mental toughness to disconnect, like don't bond with things like, and I think like there's more out there about that now and how to give feedback, focusing on the actions, not the person. So focusing on the work you did and the work you've done and the action you took more than Sahara, you are. That forces Sahara to legit bond with whatever you just said. Because all you sat here and said is like, Sahara, you are. But it's like, well, Sahara, when you act this way and produce this type of work, here's what that conveys, and here's what this conveys, here's what this looks like. And I think that it helps the person you're giving the feedback to kind of take a step back and also see it from the perspective that you're giving. So there is something to be said for that, the way we give feedback. And I try to be very mindful of that. And it's always, what questions can I answer for you? And some of y'all laugh at me like, you treating me like your patients. Yes, because what questions can I answer for you doesn't give you the way out of, do you have any questions? Nope. No, it's like,
Nope.
you have to give me something back. There's a question, let's address it so we're moving forward as a team. But I appreciate, I'm so excited for you. I love to see people win. I love to see students win. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for people who really and truly, first of all, recognized the potential and then believed in that potential. So as far as mentorship, it's one of those things I take incredibly seriously, and it's near and dear to my heart. So you guys, I keep up with y'all. I check in when October comes. It's October. We're about to go from 0 to 100 overnight. How are you holding up? But thank you so much. Final words, like, what can you share with people that are conflicted about whether or not this is something that's worth their time, money, or energy?
I would personally say, even if you aren't going for a residency or aren't sure if you want to do a residency, this program is going to prepare you for what you want your next year to look like either way. So
Yeah.
if you're on the fence, I would say go for it, go through the process. I had a colleague that went for it and backed out, and she was still so happy.
Mm-hmm.
There was no, oh, I wasted money. Oh, this is, you gain a lot of clarity through thinking through those next 5 years, through
Yeah.
seeing who would support you, who would write you a letter of recommendation. When I tell you that interviewing, I was shocked to hear these people speak on my letter of recommendations. They said, tell me about a time when you
Yeah.
made a mistake. I said, oh, this is easy. I forgot to bring my computer one day when I was with XYZ. And they were like, well, from the letter of recommendation you got from XYZ, they didn't seem to mind at all.
Yeah.
So you really have to just sit back and say, I'm going to be making six figures shortly. Do I want to regret this later?
Yeah.
Would I rather not have this opportunity later? In hindsight, would I want to say, if only I got some advice right before I made that mistake or that issue? Dr. Trayor is going to help you with your finances. She's going to give you advice on resources. She's going to go through your CV. These skills, interviewing skills, communication skills, feedback, knowing your story, knowing your values, that translates in the working world. A residency isn't just higher education, it's also a position. I used to be so nervous about applying for a real job. Now I'm like, put me in the room with whoever. We will get an acceptance. It's
I
okay.
love it. It's like, let's go. Where do I submit? How do I submit?
Where's the website for me to look the things up? Let me know your mission, your vision. And that's the thing, the things you learn. I sit here now and I'm like, let me run this by Dr. Trayor because what should I research before I pick what I should be doing next?
Yeah.
It's a skill to have. And if you come from either a school, or B, just a position where you don't have a connection. I know that I don't have anybody else in the pharmacy profession. It's not like my mom's a pharmacist. It's not like my cousin's a pharmacist. It's not like my sister's a pharmacist.
Yeah.
So that insight, it's not really there.
Mhm.
To have somebody that's done this before, been in your shoes, and can keep you calm, which is very hard to do. I I
Oh,
cried on one of my interviews, and I told her, I was like, I didn't get this. This is the residency I got. I cried. They made me cry. I got my questions wrong, and I cried about it.
oh my God.
And you know what she said when I told her? She said, "You show that you're a human being and you have emotions. People can really empathize and relate to that." And I was
Yeah.
like, well, let me just go ahead and take them off my list because they're never going to pick me.
And look at you now.
It's fine. I mean, I'm not advising you to cry, but I'm saying that It's
I'm
good to have somebody in your corner to lift you up and to say, it was just interview one. It was
yeah,
just interview four.
it's just
That's okay.
okay.
So
We
it
had quite a
helps.
few. We had what, eight, 7 or 8 with you?
8, 8,
8. So
yes.
I just kept it positive. Listen, it's one of 8. We're gonna be okay, Sahara.
We
It's
went from none to 8 in
8.
like a week. Like I was like, Dr. Trayor, I still haven't heard anything. I'm not gonna get it. She's like, wait, wait. It's okay. Then every day it's like 3 today, 2
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
next week.
I had
And
too much confidence. I have way too much confidence. I was like, no, like candidates like Sahara, these are the people they're looking for. And you're like, still no email. I'm just here, just checking in. Just I have my
everybody else is like, I already had my first interview. And I'm like, nobody called me. Nobody texted me. I don't even know if they know how to say my name. I don't know what's going on. And
you. And it
it's
started
like,
coming back to back to back. And I was like, yeah, it's go time. This is it. This
and
is
that is a phrase you will hear from her. Go time and 0 to 100. My only advice is if you are going to do this program, please come prepared. Please.
yes.
Please
Don't
do not waste your time. Please be ready. What
be
is said, please do it. Please turn it in early.
ready.
You want your results back quick. You think about it like this, right? You want to prove that you really want this.
Mhm.
You need to really want this. So my advice would be if you're on the fence, go for it. If you go for it, take it seriously.
Yeah.
That would be my only advice. If you're on the fence, you at least thought about it. Think about why you thought about it. The fact that you're even thinking about it lets me know that you want it.
Yeah. It's I love what I do. I mean, I feel like I'm more nervous than y'all on match day, but it's excited nervous energy. Cause like when my phone starts going off, like I just remember what the workshops in July sound like. Everybody is just so lost in the sauce. And when we go from that to like rank time, and I hear the confidence in your voice, I definitely love that about that place. I definitely wasn't feeling that about that place. I'm like, yes, yes, this is it. Like, I feel like I've done something here. There's clarity about what they want, what they're looking for. There's zero confusion about where they want to go. I've done my job. But we start in July, not because, we don't have things to do this summer, but it's because I genuinely believe that the journey is a marathon. You can't just wake up in November or October
No.
and say, let's go. People do it, but ask them if their edges are intact. Ask them if they don't have acid reflux by the end. The stress, it's just through the roof by the time you get through it. And then you also kind of just feel you haven't learned much. You haven't learned much. If you had to do it again, that anxiety comes right back up. So I try to empower you guys so that if you get ambitious and want to do a PGY2, step 1 through 8 is clear. You're probably just like 9 and 10 are a little hazy. Do you have time for us to touch base about this? But how you start is clear. And I'm just so incredibly proud of you. Like when I tell you that I know they are not ready, they are not ready. I
Wait, you have to stop because my co-resident is on here. And I don't think
no, she's gained an incredible teammate because you have all the energy, all of the makings of a person that's like no person left behind. And that makes you an incredible asset on any team you're on. I can't wait to get on here and just start bragging.
oh,
I just
I
can't.
know. Once we pass the Nowplex and we pass the
Yeah,
FPJ, oh my
I'm
God.
going to be on LinkedIn bragging. Sarah is a fully licensed in these streets, everybody. I can't wait. I'll be the first one.
Don't do that because then everybody's going to be like, can I borrow?
They know you're getting paid for real now. You're so funny. Thank you, Sahara.
So thank you.
I don't take you taking the time to come and kind of share what it was like for you. I'm so happy that it was a great experience for you. For everybody watching, interested in what happens next, in the comments shortly, you'll have my link tree that takes you to all of the different places that you can find me. But also, my calendar is open. I'm booking discovery calls. And July 15th, the early registration window closes because we start working in July. The first workshop is going to be July 25th. And so I want to get everybody enrolled and I want you to start with us from the beginning so that we are moving. We start our marathon and run this thing at our pace, not try to catch up to nobody. Thank you again, Dr. Hill. That is who you
Oh,
are. She's so silly. I can't even right now. Thank you, Dr. Hill, for your time, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, and continue to follow, support, share with your colleagues, share with your friends, and more and more and more of these lives with other people sharing their perspective about working with me, hoping that that encourages you and inspires you to take this leap of faith and bless me with the privilege of being a part of your journey to residency. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye,
take
Sarah.
care, guys. Best of luck.
Bye.